All right, I'm super excited about this episode because we're talking about something that has existed, but we really just ramped up our ability to be able to deliver it in a couple of different ways. Hold on a second. I'm going to hit this camera a little bit differently. Make sure we're good to go. Yep.
Yeah, we definitely have started getting involved in this company more. And we started off, it was like, hey, we got to get all these things, fix individual programming, get it all set, get all the things set. And now we've done this for a while, but now we're putting more emphasis of our time and focus on what essentially is now team programming.
Team programming. And that was being done before, but it was needing to be done at a distance.
Yep.
Like we were putting in the TPLs, the tactical performance labs, and then walking away from those and being able to provide programming to teams, larger or groups or organizations, agencies. And Aaron was kind of having to manage it from a distance, but not all the time. There's been, you could probably talk about your experience that there are places that you go out and visit on a regular basis, basically tune them up, right? Talk to the team leads, get the feedback, do some assessment, making sure that people are on the right track so that we can make some adjustments to programming and things like that. But we're now in a position to be able to do that at a greater scale, and we've been doing that and starting to really ramp up for us. And so that's why I'm really excited to talk about this, because I love impacting people. And we've got a way and kind of a delivery system to do it now that I think can impact even more people outside of what we've introduced to people or reintroduced to people in the last probably 5-6 months.
Yeah. So can you tell us like how you currently work? So give it an example so people watching can understand, what does team programming look like currently and where are we going with it? Or where are we at now, I should say.
Currently, what it looks like is a job task analysis, or we understand most of the time the job, but specifically for that group. So we go there, we talk with their leadership and the people that are higher ups in a place of influence. And we talk to them, kind of get a feedback on like op tempo, what their main needs are, where do they work? Do they work in like more of a wooded area? Do they work where there's mountains? So getting really, really specific
Granular,
into that.
yep.
Yeah, very granular. And then we talk about, all right, here's what we typically do. Here's our base program. Let's tailor this to what you guys need specifically. And so it could be a little bit, there's so many routes we could go with that.
You know, what's interesting is sometimes there's a disconnect. So people could be listening to this that are involved in the thing and going like, yeah, you guys are talking to higher ups, but they don't necessarily have a solid connection to what's actually going on. Like what our job is on a daily. Maybe they did it in the past, they haven't done it in a long time, or in some cases they're totally disconnected. I've had lots of conversations with people about that. It's frustrating for them, right? So maybe you talk a little bit about that and talking to like the boots on the ground, right, that are actually doing the thing versus the decision makers that oftentimes, I'm not going to say can run interference, but let's be honest about this conversation. Like, can sometimes be a little bit of a roadblock in getting the team what it actually needs. Like, this is a reality, and this is where we want to be in a position to help coach people through and be a partner in making it happen for the team that actually is going to be using it and needing it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we typically give the kind of like the PT studs, the high influence guys who are just go-getters. We usually give them like a sample a month or so and like, hey, would this be something that fits for you? And then they can better deliver it to the team as a whole. Those are typically the first steps with if somebody's skeptical, a higher up, a TL or something like that. If they're skeptical, we always go to the hard driver and like, all right, is this fitting for you?
Yeah. So my experience so far, particularly here, and it's been like this, it's very similar kind of in like the commercial end of things where you're talking to like a corporation or a business that wants to bring something in to there's a couple of things here. One, you might be talking to like a champion, like the PT stud or somebody on the team that reaches out and says, you know, to IEP specifically, and that's how it happened. It's happened with you, and it's happened with IEP a few times. It happens kind of weekly, you know. And we'd like to do more of that because we're now in a position to be able to deliver it better, or more efficiently. The point of that is, if somebody reaches out and goes, "Man, really love what you guys are doing. Would love to find out more and bring that to my team." And so part of our process is understanding, okay, who are you, man? Like, let's get on the phone. Let's talk about it. Like, tell me what you think your needs are, what your wants are. And let's talk about what maybe some of the roadblocks may be, but also what some of the advantages that you might have there that we can leverage, right? Let's get a better understanding of what that is so that we can, number one, come up with the right plan. Number two, when we come up with that right plan, put it in front of the right people that you can advocate for yourself for, and they'll understand it. It's clearly put together, because I think that's a very large disconnect across the board in law enforcement training, period. So if we're talking specifically to that population, and that they realize they have a need, but other people haven't realized that that's an important need for them. Because for lots of reasons, either we're going to do it this way because we've always done it that way, or they are just very disconnected. Look, there's bean counters out there that go, this math doesn't math. We don't have that in the budget. Well, it's that you haven't prioritized the budget to do those things. And that's what we are trying to overcome, try to provide accessibility to both teams and individuals, no matter where they fall on that scale. So the kind of the reach out process is like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. It's really important because there is no one size fits all. You have to kind of build things in frameworks, but there is no one size fits. We want to know what the specific needs are.
Yep.
So, and then again, that puts us in an informed position to then inform you about what it is in a very simple way, because we recognize there's almost like a presentation process that has to move up the ladder from there, right? PT stud on the team, stud on this department, whatever it is. He wants to see this thing come because he recognizes the importance of it. He sees the importance of it in his daily activity on the job or whatever else, and he would love to be even maybe a team leader behind that, but he doesn't have maybe the resources, the background knowledge in order to build a program, scale a program, which is another unfortunate part, because we often see them like they're kind of charged with doing that anyway, and they're putting together workouts or workout programs for their guys, which isn't bad. It's just like, how can we help you do it better? And so if you reach out to us, that's what we're going to try and help you do.
Yeah. And
then understand that we can have those higher level conversations. That's a talent and a skill that exists within IEP because of the experience that they've had in working with multiple agencies. I don't know. I don't want to drop any specific names, as I don't know if that's a good idea. But we have municipal agency contracts. We have federal agency contracts. We sometimes it's a wellness coordinator that works for a department that works out. Currently working with a department where the wellness coordinator is trying to bring stuff in, not necessarily even for the team, where they're bringing stuff in for those people in the department that are not in shape. They know they're not in shape. They're not meeting the standard, which is minimal. Maybe they're meeting the minimal standard, and the department, from a cultural perspective, has decided that's not good enough. We need to be better. And we recognize there's a barrier of entry to this for some of these people. We need to have a program that suits their needs, that isn't so far advanced. And when I say advanced, just they're not physically ready for that from a GPP perspective. So how do we build that program and implement that? So that's part of the process. I just wanted to put that out there because I think people are like, yeah, how do we get this here? Because sometimes for some people, they may have nothing.
Right.
And some people may have something that's very, very well supported, well budgeted or financed, and we can work with any of those things. Yeah. So anyways, I wanted to kind of time out on that, because I know people are out there like, yes, we need a higher level standard here. What should those standards be? Well, we've kind of figured that out for you. Like, it's not just the Cooper standard, right? The 300-meter shuttle run, the sit-ups, the push-ups, and the 1.5 miles. There's value in some of that, but how much? We've kind of pulled that out. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm super pumped about it. So as you can tell.
Essentially what we do is bring a strength staff for that department. And so same way a sports team has a strength staff who dedicates to, hey, what's your offensive tempo or your defensive scheme or whatever, they tailor the program to those needs of the coordinators. We do the same thing. We go in, that's where the job task analysis comes in, where we talk to the people who, hey, this is our vision. And then we talk to the people who are like, this is what we've done. And then we blend those two together to create the best solution for them. But it's all, we're the strength staff for that particular department or team.
Yeah. So a lot of that comes in with, some of the people we run into are like, a lot of acronyms in this industry that I've had to learn over the years, but PFIs is one of those that sounds familiar to you if you're listening, like a physical fitness instructor who is maybe that stud who, has maybe gone through some type of post-training to become a certified in a 40-hour course or whatever to become a certified trainer to deliver post-level standards. Right. Again, those are not the people that are doing that are not typically, in my experience, the people that are satisfied with those standards. They just want to be part of the process, and they understand they have to deliver that stuff. And they're trying to fit in the other important things into that they know need to be there. So sometimes we're working with people like that, and we have the ability, based on background and what we do, to educate them on not only how to do it, but how to implement it. Right? How to make not just a change from a structural perspective in delivering the programs, but also impact the culture. So in our experience working with teams, other athletes, and all the coaching that we've had, also working with organizations that where you have to navigate, like talk to the people that really need it, talk to the people who are kind of trying to advocate for them. And then there's ultimately a person that actually has to write the check, right? Who is that person? And how do we build the communication process or put the materials in front of them so that the people that count the beans can go like, okay, well, we understand how this many hours and these are the deliverables in this program, what we should actually expect.
Yep.
And so if you're talking to the guy on the team, he wants a fitter, more capable, more resilient team member, right? If you're talking to the wellness coordinator, that person likely needs something that provides those things, but is also somewhat measurable and accessible to everybody, to the masses, because they have different budgets they're working with.
And different goals.
And different goals.
Different titles.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have the person at whoever is writing the check, right? Who ultimately signs off. It kind of has to come up and then come back through the process. And there's always a little bit of negotiation that goes on in there. That's something we've done. Like, we understand that. And that's not something you likely have a lot of time for as somebody that's working on a special operations team. Like, you just want the thing, man. And like, you may have some relationships, but it's generally not going to be with the check signer, right? Or the decision maker. You have to talk to a team lead. You might have the SWAT sergeant, and then you've got the lieutenant. You have to, and then the captain of the division, who just pass it on to the chief or the assistant chief, and then there's other executive or administrative people that get involved in there. It's a very complicated deal, and it's frustrating.
Very frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Takes a long time.
It honestly does. So we have the patience, the bandwidth, and the capacity to be able to help you through that process, so that if you can get it started for us, and again, we can have this interaction. Like, what do you need, man?
Whether you're the hard charger, the bean counter, or the person that essentially is in charge of the coordination.
Let us help understand what that is. We don't have, again, there's a framework to this, but we understand that there may need to be adjustments and things pulled in. So if we look, the next question would be what does that kind of look like? So we have an education process. Maybe we're educating
PFIs,
both the PFIs and the participants in the program. We can put together a rollout plan to deliver to the PFIs, give them the things that they need, the materials that they need, coach them on how to do it, understanding whether
it's in person or online.
Whether it's in person or online, because we understand there are restrictions there.
Yeah, the bean counter might say, hey, you know what? We don't have we can't afford having Aaron come out and teach our PFIs. Cool.
So that's the thing. So you can have a strength coach kind of virtually. And
not a great solution.
It's not the perfect one,
but it works.
It's kind of like the first step. Like, if this is what you have to work with, we can deliver that to you through a platform that can deliver you obviously the program in and of itself as a whole. Then the actual training program. We have a platform to be able to deliver it easily accessible. We can make it accessible to everybody at whatever level. There could be a couple different levels of, call it beginner or advanced or intermediate. We could provide that. And then you can have access to the coaches, whether it be through Zoom meetings or online video conferencing, to direct access through email and the messaging system, where you hit us with the message. We try to do a really good job of getting back to people in about a 24-hour period. So if you have participants that have questions about their programming, that they could come directly to the coach, or they could go, if you have that PFI who's more the leader in that program, they go to them. If the PFI has questions, isn't quite sure how to answer it or implement the thing, they can come to us. That's where we're a partner in helping it done. But it can be done virtually, or again, online and just there. Or it can be done in a combination of both that and in person. So you may not have a strength and conditioning coach at your facility every day, but you have these different partners and players in place to be able to give you the benefit of that at a distance.
Yeah, bought into your team's success.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have a vested interest in seeing law enforcement officers get better. Right. And there's so many, we hear people talking about it needs to be better. It sucks. It's awful. People need to feel, compelled to want to do this intrinsically, and not just externally, the carrot and the stick piece of thing. are part of things. Like there's a cultural thing that exists there. We can only do so much from that perspective, but we understand it. We understand it, and we can at least try and work through some of those solutions that may be specific to your thing. So you have kind of these options, and then, like what could that look like? Really, sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
Outside of, obviously, Aaron lives in Texas, right? And you're in New Hampshire. Like we can't be there.
Aaron lives in New Hampshire.
Right, yeah.
Everything has the right price.
But there's skill in being able to deliver those programs from a distance, and there's a lot of experience and skill that exists here in being able to do that. So I don't know if you want to talk about some of the nuance of how those programs are put together, but how it might look for them.
Yeah, again, it goes back to like what's their main need. What's their schedule like? The general concept is always going to be the same, the base of it, and then we kind of tailor a little bit more specifically to those needs. When do we actually do a speed and power day? When is their team training day? That could be a whole thing where we cut out one of the days and make that's their team training day. So we have a team workout, and then their whole day is free to do all their team training at the range. So a lot of that stuff is customizable. Again, it's just a lot of communication. That's the huge thing is talk to me, tell me what's needed. Is this going to work? Does this not work? Even if we go through a month of it and it's not working, we communicate and we can adjust.
If we're communicating, that's what we do. We make those adjustments. Maybe the next question is this: like, what are some of the common questions that you get as a coach on a regular basis from either a team leader who's delivering this stuff or kind of been charged with being kind of, I guess, in the front end of it at their location, and the participants within the program? I mean, just some of them maybe basic questions about exercises. Like, what can you tell us about some of the common things that you get?
A lot of it has been, I don't have this equipment. So our guys don't train at the same place or something like that. They don't actually have a team weight room, or the department gym is kind of crappy or something like that.
Or they have like multiple locations.
Or they have multiple locations.
One location is run by one coordinator of that location, and it's pimped out.
Yeah.
Like they have everything. The budget that they get, they put into providing cool equipment or good stuff or regenerating their equipment somehow, like getting rid of the old, bringing in the new stuff or whatever. I've seen that. And then they have this other, depending on the size of the agency, they have this other location at the other end of town where the wellness coordinators is focused on something completely different and focuses that budget because they're the decision maker, right? So
equipment
we get
needs,
that's an issue.
And then travel. So if we're working with a federal team, which we have in the past, there is I'm at home and I have my home gym, or I have the department gym or team gym that I can train at regularly. But then every other week or so they travel.
We're on the road.
The road. And so they need a bodyweight program or something they could do at a dumbbell focused hotel gym.
Yeah.
So all those things are a lot of issues that come up. It's typically it's mainly equipment and scheduling.
Yeah. And what's available to them, which is both, right? Like, I only have this much time. I'm in a hotel gym. How do I put that together? Same stuff that exists for, every human if they're really into their fitness program and they're on the road traveling a lot. In the commercial corporate world, deal with a lot of people that are on the road a lot. And so they needed this, okay, here's what I do when I'm with my coach. Here's what I'm do, when I'm not with my coach. And here's what I do when I'm stuck at the Holiday Inn Express and I have, the typical, everybody knows what that Holiday Inn is.
Yeah.
So anybody they walk down and they go, oh, geez, man, I got to really be creative today. So we can help you with the creativity piece or, and some of that, sometimes that's like snap a picture of where you typically stay, right? Like just go down, take a video of it, send it to us so that we can see what the team has to work with, and we can develop programming around that. Or again, going back to you have these different facilities. Okay, we may need to program a little bit more generally so that when we're giving it to people, you may be working in this district at this point and this district at this other point, or in almost anybody that's serious about this is not fully dependent on their department gym. Yeah. They're doing that when they go to work, but when they're not at work, where do they go? Are they going to 24-hour fitness or Golds or something like that, or an Anytime? Or do they have a really equipped home gym? Or do they have a not so well equipped, look, man, I got a squat rack, a barbell, and a few dumbbells. So going back to what exercises can I do in place of this? Those are easy things for us to be able to go, hey, bro, okay, you don't have a barbell? No problem. We can modify this with what do you have? What can we work with? Obviously, going back to the word variety, if you have a variety of equipment, that makes things sometimes a little bit easier, but also some people just need it to be simplified.
Yep.
And that's what coaches do, right? That they're able to kind of find solutions to both the general or the larger scale problems, but also the smaller programs. And you mentioned something else there, is like, how much range time to gym time do we have? How can we balance that? And how can we marry those two up? Because that's what IEP does. Like, we're building human performance programs that help make better shooters, right? And in law enforcement, again, the same arguments and the same debates exist there in that culture about, like, we need to be better shooters. And, obviously there's getting to the range and practicing the fundamentals there, but then how do we take the human performance movement application and then drive that over to the range, so that when you're going there, you could be working both at the same time. You could be complementing the stuff that happens in the gym with the stuff that happens on the range. And that brings in the next point that I want to bring up, is the additional resource materials that we have and we can provide to do that. You mentioned like the hotel room workouts the hotel workouts, gym workouts, or like our range book. Yep. And what would be good range activities to complement, or range drills, if you will, to complement this, to see the work that you're doing manifest, over here. Again, like, it doesn't help you with your grip, your vision, right, and your trigger control. Like, that's shit you got to work on, right? Like, but when we're starting to put the movement piece in, how can we marry those things up? That's in general what we're doing as a whole. But I think it's tough, when people start thinking about, like, how should I be training? Like, and that's what we're trying to educate people on to do. Here's how to organize your training program so you're getting the max benefit of the time and the effort that you're putting in there. And so when teams are reaching out, or people are reaching out for how to do a better job with their team, I think it's somewhat misunderstood, not because they don't know. It's just not really developed, and nobody's ever really helped them with it before. So a conversation, like a dialogue, should happen. There's, by no means are we saying like this program fixes this problem. No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, Aaron said it best to me, is like, look, we recognize we fit into a very small piece. It should be a larger piece, in our opinion. We're biased, of the entire pie chart of things that folks in the law enforcement industry realm have to work on. They got to know a lot of things. They got to do a lot of stuff, and there's limitations with time, right? Finance, resources, and then obviously a depth of knowledge to understand how to make what they do have work for them. So the team training piece is the thing that I'm probably the most excited about revisiting with IEP, because it has so much potential to impact so many people. And people that listen to these podcasts, or see us on YouTube, or see us on on Instagram or whatever, I think they see that in a lot of cases, right? They see like, I see where that fits, but they're not quite sure how to make the connection.
So what's the call to action? So if you're, whether you are any of the three, you described three different people there, personas. Yep. So what's the call to action?
I think the best thing to do is like, hey, just reach out.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
Instagram, email.
You
got my cell phone number.
We made it too easy. Yeah. Just go to the website, right? Yeah. There's a contact page there that will, just, hey, hit us, and we'll hit you right back. If you're interested in, again, the human performance side, just like even if it was on the shooting side, if I'm adding that in there, because we do that as well. Those are kind of our two basic things. We're building human performance programs to help you be a better shooter, and in the shooting piece, we're walking through how to employ the human performance stuff and why it's important. But the best thing to do is just to reach out. Yep. Give us an opportunity to talk to you. That's what we're here for. Let's schedule a time, whatever time works best for you in general. Give us a few times that would be best. It doesn't have to be, an hour and a half conversation. It could be 15 minutes on your lunch, in your car, after your work, after your workout, after your shift, before your shift, whatever. Just give us the opportunity to chat with you, and that'll give you a better idea of whether we could be a right fit or not. Yeah. That's the first thing we need to understand. Yeah. And then from there, we very quickly present you with some materials to then take everything that we heard based on a recommendation that we might give you to maybe take a closer look at. And then you can take a look at it, mull it over, marinate, talk with your team on it. And then we can even present and provide materials and resources going back to the tools we have to help you distribute that information, you know, like
to the higher ups if need be, or to your team.
To your team,
whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and collect questions that they might have, and then hit us with those. Like, what were the questions? What were the things that you weren't able to answer? It's just like you want this done. Who else is part of this decision? What questions do you think they're going to ask? And obviously, it's always going to come. At the end of the day, it always comes down to a fee for a service. Like, how much does this cost? Well, we have to understand a little bit more about. We have some basic, cost
Chicken
structure.
Or the egg.
Yeah, some cost structures that we have to go through. But to talk about that without understanding what your needs are doesn't make a lot of sense. So, reach out. It's an easy thing to do. Go to the website. It's www.inextremisperformance.com. Find out all about the things that we do there. You can kind of go through there and get a better understanding. But the contact page is the easiest thing to do. Just hit us. We'll hit you right back.